They look extremely dangerous, says Thomas Frank. Arne Slot today was talking about Chelsea, saying they were the only team that Liverpool faced where he thought they were the better side. As much as Enzo Maresca doesn't want to admit it, as much as he's trying to keep it out of the public eye, his team are in this title race, very much so.
They're 4 points behind, so of course they are. I don't know how long it will last, and we can look again in January and in March and in April, and if by then they're 10, 12, okay, maybe, but if they're still 4 or less, or maybe slightly more, they will be in it. And as long as it lasts, I can't understand why people say now they're not in the title race. They are, very much. They are the second best team in the league. They're the best attack.
Yeah.
They are the attack that you feel certainly even more than Liverpool can score any time. They've got a genius in Cole Palmer, and yet they're young, they make mistakes at the back. I think the expected against in the last 5 or 6 games is higher than how many goals they actually conceded, really. So there's still a lot of work to be done more defensively, but of course they're there.
I think the thing that's scary is that whereas Cole Palmer used to run the show and they could be accused of being a one-man team, everyone else has stepped up under Maresca. You've got Jadon Sancho scoring in back-to-back Premier League games for the first time. You have Fernandez, who's suddenly adding as well. They've got a lethal-looking bench.
Yep.
And he has the option of playing a different team in Europe in midweek, where others are, dealing with the fixture schedule. He can play different teams.
He can. There was a lot about that in the summer, of course, when they had so many players. I think that's probably the part of the job which I think has been most impressive, is that he's managed to filter through those players and find the ones he does want within the first team environment. They are very young, but at the same time, they're living on that high of this momentum, and that's what his job is as the manager, is to keep them on that high. And when maybe 1 or 2 drop off, he knows he's got the depth to say, don't worry, we can change it. It's still fresh. I can use players, even, the likes of, I think Mudryk was probably a player that you weren't sure how much longer he potentially was going to be there if he wasn't going to start contributing in the goals and the assists. I feel like he's felt like a different player in the last couple of months. Madueke, Jackson, Neto. They've just so many good players that just... Exactly, and they've got that nice stability, I think, in the midfield. He's mentioned before, I think, Enzo was struggling, but he mentioned about fitness. That, I think, spurred him on, so now you've got competition in the midfield. It feels a very healthy place at the moment.
Yeah, and I think mentally as well, against Spurs, even at 2-0 down, yes, we can say what we want to about Spurs and the way they played and should have managed the game. We'll talk about them later. Yeah. But to come back and to win this game, ultra impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. They never panicked, really. And again, we knew that Spurs being so attacking all the time would play into Chelsea's hands as well. But we can't underestimate how difficult it is in the Premier League to be 2-0 down away from home after 15 minutes and go and win the game 4-2. This is how good they are. I agree with you on the sense that last season, and Pochettino said it himself, which was really stupid, but he said this is Cole Palmer's team. Nobody is ever a one-player team. This is not possible, not at this level. But now it's far more structured, and I did wonder at the start of the season if Cole Palmer would be as effective in a much more structured team than when you just give him the ball and go and do your magic like he did last season. And it's probably even better because there's more options around him, there's a better structure, tactically they know what they do. And Caicedo was saying that last season it was all about running with Pochettino, and Pochettino was a terrible, really, season. But this season, it was a lot about tactic, a lot about patterns of play, a lot about understanding each other, habits, etc. And Maresca, for that, was so good. Everything basically that Pochettino wasn't last season.
Yeah, I think what's also really, really impressive is the number of players who are contributing goals. They are the top scorers in the league at the moment. And when there are multiple outlets for goals, it's always going to be a danger because, as we saw, even at 2-0 down against a rival London team, they're not out of it.
No, not at all. But I think that also, I think, is one of the benefits of having youthful players. You find they have that little edge about them, that confidence, and it's that competitive environment in training, and that then can lead into the games, and you keep building on that momentum. I think it becomes something that then becomes even more difficult to stop, and I think that's why they're in the position they're in. I think you probably hope that he's prepared for the moment when perhaps they don't play well. Inevitably that will happen. Inevitably there will become that game when they don't get the result. It'll be then about how you get the right reaction from that. And sometimes that's where the youthfulness sometimes can be trickier to manage because you maybe don't have as many experienced ones that have that calmness.
Yeah, and you can understand why, as you just mentioned, the youthful players, many of them I think when they talk about title contenders and who's really going to challenge Liverpool, the only reason why Chelsea are maybe not considered or were not considered is the experience factor.
Yeah, because I think in the past, you see, normally it's a blend. Normally there's a few more senior players or more experienced players throughout the team that just give you that little bit of balance, because you do need that experience in the moment. Right now, as we've said, they're flying high. They know they're scoring 3-4 goals often. It's when you get in those sticky moments, sometimes you just need that experience to shine through. But that's also on the manager to find a way.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. I just want to talk about Brentford because it's Jekyll and Hyde football for them. Love that term. At home, like,
incredible,
amazing. And then away from home, totally different.
Terrible. And maybe it's the fact, and I don't want to take anything away from them, from that home.
Welcome back. Chelsea go into the West London derby against Brentford in unbelievable form. They've won their last 6 matches in a row, haven't been beaten since October, and their star man is Panenkaing penalties. Manager Enzo Maresca has been discussing their title chances and Cole Palmer being just a chill guy.
They look almost that they don't care about nothing, but then at the end it's because they are in that way, but for sure they care. And probably being in that way give them more, I don't know, freedom or relax. And you can see Cole exactly in the same way. I said he was exactly in this way 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and he's still the same. Jadon, since we started, is doing well. Probably he was lacking of finish because we had many games where he was, I remember Nottingham, many different games where he arrived many times 1v1, and he's always looking for assist. That is something good. But sometimes also you are in a position where you can take shot, and now he's doing better. The only way to improve me and to improve the players is just focus on what we can do better. In terms of training session, improve players and improve the team.
Taking a few managers and all that, and they also had a few players out. I think it seems now it's more balanced squad. So well done for everyone who's been involved there. Maresca have done a top job so far with his coaching staff, and they look extremely dangerous.